Reselling has a problem, and it's not the fees, it's not the economy, it's not the competition, it's complaining. You hear it everywhere. YouTube videos, eBay forums, Reddit threads, sellers stuck in the same loop, blaming everything and everyone for their problems except for themselves. Most sellers fall into the habit without even noticing, myself included. Slow sales? Must be the algorithm. Sourcing feels harder? Blame the competition. Returns piling up? Buyers are terrible. We vent, we blame, we pass frustration around pretending it's strategy. But the sellers who learn to cut it off early, who recognize it for what it is, put themselves in a much better position to grow their businesses. In this video, I'm going to break down what all of that complaining is really costing you, how it's quietly killing your momentum, and a simple way to catch yourself before you spiral and actually do something useful for your business instead. Why does it seem like complaining is so prevalent in reselling culture? Part of it, I think, is the nature of the work. Most sellers do this alone. There's no team, there's no boss, there's no built-in system for feedback. So when something goes wrong, the only place to unload that frustration is into the void or into the ears of other resellers who are frustrated too. On top of that, reselling is wildly unpredictable. Sales spike and stall randomly, inventory dries up without warning, you can do everything right and still have a bad month. And all of this is happening on someone else's platform. eBay can change its rules or its fees or its algorithm at any time, and you just have to basically accept it. When the work feels out of your control, complaining becomes the outlet. It gives you something to latch onto. And then there's the culture. Most resellers learn by watching other resellers like you're doing right now. And what do they see? People venting. Complaining about the algorithm or whatever almost becomes a rite of passage. It's modeled as normal from day one. You hear a lot of talk about the quote reseller community, but in reality, most people are quietly competing with each other. Everyone's watching each other's numbers, comparing hauls, tracking store sizes. Complaining becomes the safe way to express that tension without sounding like you're losing. In other words, it feels safer to sound jaded than it is to admit you're trying but failing. All of that creates a culture where complaining feels justified or even productive, but that doesn't make it harmless. Psychologist Ethan Kross, who wrote the book Chatter, explains that complaining can be a way to manage stress and offload pressure.
A lot of people think that the key to feeling better is to vent your emotions. There's research on this. Venting is good for strengthening bonds between people.
And when other people validate your complaints, it feels even better.
But if all you do is just validate what I'm going through, and you don't take the next step to additionally help me look at that bigger picture and problem solve, I leave the conversation feeling really good about my relationship with you, but the problem is still there.
You get some social proof, a hit of validation, and just enough dopamine to make the brain think you've done something useful. But of course you haven't. You haven't listed anything, you haven't changed your strategy, you haven't made any progress. You've just narrated the problem out loud to anyone who will listen. And over time, if you're not careful, that pattern becomes the default, where complaints replace action. You end up falling into what psychologists call the closure bias, which is the tendency to grab onto an easy explanation like eBay's broken or the economy sucks and treat it like a solution. Not because it helps, but because it absolves you from the responsibility of finding a solution and lets you move on even though you didn't actually fix anything. By the way, if we haven't met yet, my name is Justin, and I've been selling on eBay for over 25 years, and I run this YouTube channel where I hear from frustrated resellers every single day. Between the comments, the emails, and my own experience, you start to notice the same kinds of complaints popping up over and over again. In this video, I've placed all of those common complaints into 5 core categories, each one revealing a different way that sellers give up control without realizing it. We're going to look at what those complaints really mean and what they're actually costing you, and most importantly, how to catch yourself and take back control of your business. One of the most common frustrations among resellers sounds something like this.
Thrift stores are dead.
I drove to 4 stores today and didn't find a single thing worth flipping.
Garage sales used to be gold. Now it's just baby clothes and broken electronics.
You see these complaints everywhere. YouTube comments, Instagram stories, reseller group chats, and if you've been reselling for a while, chances are you've said it yourself. I know I have. And look, it can genuinely feel true. You walk into the same store you've always relied on, but suddenly the shelves seem emptier. The inventory that you used to count on just isn't there anymore. You notice more competition, more resellers. It's easy to feel late to the party every time you walk through the door. So when you voice these frustrations, especially to another reseller who feels the same way, it brings a moment moment of relief. Someone nods along, you feel validated. Maybe it's not your fault. Maybe you've done your part and it's just the environment that needs to change. But here's the trap. Complaining about the lack of good inventory does not help you find better items. It doesn't sharpen your ability to spot new opportunities. It doesn't teach you anything new. It only relieves the pressure temporarily without moving you forward. Underneath these frustrations, there's usually a pattern. Doing exactly what used to work, hoping it'll still deliver results, and then getting frustrated when it doesn't. You're not testing any new methods of sourcing. You're not exploring new categories. You're not adjusting your strategy at all. And so your results stay flat or even decline, but your frustrations grow louder. The longer this continues, the more the habit of complaining replaces the habit of adapting. And that's the real cost here. You end up sourcing less, you experiment less, you discover less, and you start waiting for external conditions to improve instead of improving your ability to navigate them. But here's the truth. Sourcing is a skill, and like any skill, it either deteriorates or it improves over time. Every time you complain, instead of sharpening your sourcing skills, you lose ground to someone who's out there actually getting better. So here's what you can do instead. This week, I want you to pick one simple adjustment to try out. Visit a sourcing location you've never considered going to before, or go to one of your, quote, bad stores and stay for an hour. Most people breeze through the aisles assuming nothing can be found and quit in 15 minutes. What do you think you might find if you don't? Or study a new category and challenge yourself to find just one profitable item from that category. Or track your sourcing habits for a week and honestly ask yourself, am I relying on routine here or am I sourcing intentionally? Adaptability is your real job here. Complaining is just delaying the work that matters. If you hang around resellers long enough, you're going to start to hear the same complaints over and over about buyers.
There used to be real buyers out there. Now it's just lowballers.
Returns are getting out of control.
Buyers don't read descriptions.
There's always some new story. The buyer who demanded a partial refund on a $12 shirt, or the one who opened a return because the color was, quote, off, or the one who left a negative review without ever messaging you first. And yeah, some buyers really are awful. There's a level of entitlement and impulsiveness online that can be really hard to deal with. You're providing a product, you're answering questions, you're shipping quickly, and the buyer's still upset. They're still complaining, still trying to squeeze more out of the transaction. So it feels good and almost necessary to complain about it. You get to vent. You get agreement from other sellers experiencing the same thing. You feel a little bit less alone in the madness. But the problem is you start to see buyers as the enemy. You expect them to be difficult. You preload every sale with defensiveness. Every message from a buyer feels like an attack. Every return feels like a personal failure. What that really reveals is a mindset built on distrust. You stop giving the benefit of the doubt. You write listings with passive-aggressive disclaimers. You avoid certain categories altogether just because they come with bad buyers. And slowly you start building walls between you and your own customers. All of this has consequences because when you view buyers as adversaries, your service drops, your energy drops, you get annoyed answering questions, you start resenting the very people keeping your business afloat. And it's worth remembering, this is a service job whether you like it or not. Reselling is a part of the service industry. You're solving a problem, you're providing a product, and delivering an experience. And just like any service job, how you interact with your customers isn't just a side issue, it is the job. So instead of complaining about bad buyers, start separating the buyer from the emotions that they trigger. Start assuming that most people are just confused, not malicious. Who knows what their real intentions are, but if you choose to view them as innocent, you won't feel victimized by their actions. Try adding a 12-hour buffer before responding to annoying messages so that you're not replying from a place of annoyance. That way buyers get a clear response and you don't end up sounding passive-aggressive. I also want you to make peace with the idea that basically 1 in 20 buyers are going to be weird. You can keep track if it helps, but don't let that one dictate the tone for the next 19 who end up being perfectly fine. I also want you to create your listings to prevent future issues, but not punish past buyers. A long list of conditions that must be met for the sale to be successful is passive-aggressive, and it turns off most buyers if they even read it in the first place. Dealing with the occasional bad buyer here is part of the job, but the habit of complaining about every difficult interaction will do more damage than any bad buyer ever could. And then there are the complaints about eBay itself, or the platform, or the algorithm, or whatever invisible system people feel is working against them.
eBay's fees are too high. It's hardly worth it anymore.
Sales just stopped overnight for no reason.
The algorithm is broken. Buyers can't find my items.
eBay is hiding my listings. I hate them.
There's usually no real evidence, it's just feelings. And I get the instinct. You're doing the work, you're listing, you're shipping, you're staying consistent, and the numbers still drop. The traffic still vanishes. You sell one item in 4 days and think, okay, something's definitely wrong. And if you go looking for validation, you're gonna find it. Other sellers will say they're experiencing the same thing, so you complain. And the moment you do, the pressure lifts just a little bit. You feel seen, you feel like it's not your fault. But here's the problem. When the platform becomes the scapegoat, you stop looking at what you can actually control. You stop evaluating your inventory, your pricing, your titles, your photos, your shipping policies. You stop being a business owner and start being a victim of the algorithm. This kind of complaint reveals a mindset that's outsourcing responsibility. And when that becomes a habit, it's almost impossible to make strategic decisions to move forward because you're not testing, you're not iterating, you're not looking at your data honestly. You're just waiting for the platform to behave better. And what does that cost you? Well, time for one, but more than that, it costs you the clarity that comes from facing what's actually happening. Simply put, you can't fix a problem you've already decided is out of your hands. And that is what your tendency to complain is taking away from you, the ability to fix a problem. Here's the truth. The algorithm isn't a slot machine. It's not sitting in a dark room deciding who gets sales today. It's built to surface listings that match what buyers are looking for. Is it perfect? Of course not. But complaining about it does not fix your store, and it doesn't grow your business. So here's what to do instead. Treat every drop in sales as a prompt to investigate, not a cue to freak out and complain. Look at your recent listings. Are you selling what buyers actually want right now? Proactively check sell-through rates again and reset your expectation for how long it might take a thing to sell. Focus on your pricing, which outside of demand is usually why your items may not be selling. Are you priced to sell, or are you priced to feel good about not getting ripped off? Or try switching roles here. Pretend that you're the buyer. Search for your own items. Did you click on it? If not, that's probably a good place to start. And try using frustration as a fuel for analysis, not a reason to give up your power. The machine might be flawed, but the moment you decide it's broken and you can't win, that's when you stop playing the game altogether. Some complaints don't target buyers or the platform, they go bigger. These are the macro level, sky is falling complaints that sound like this.
Inflation has ruined shipping costs. I can't turn a profit anymore.
Nobody's spending money right now, and if they are, it's on essential things only.
The economy is in the tank, and it's killing my sales.
And you usually hear them right after someone has a slow week or when Q4 doesn't live up to the hype. The complaint shows up like a weather report, something in the air that's keeping people from buying. And once that idea takes hold, it becomes the explanation for everything. But here's the thing. While it's true that economic conditions affect buyer behavior, these kind of complaints are often just a slightly more sophisticated way of giving up. Because once you decide the entire economy is the problem, what are you supposed to do about it? Nothing. That's the point. You've explained your way out of taking any action at all. And that's what makes this so sneaky and dangerous. It feels smart, it sounds rational, but it leaves you just as stuck as any other complaint, except now you've convinced yourself there's no reason to even try. What it actually reveals is a mindset that externalizes all responsibility. It says there's nothing I can do until these things change, which in business is a dangerous place to operate from because things are always changing. If you build your business around perfect conditions, you don't have a business, you have a hobby that only works when the weather's nice. And the cost of this complaint is super high. You stop listing aggressively, you avoid bigger purchases, you assume no one's buying, so you back off of sourcing or shut down entirely. And meanwhile, other sellers are adjusting and moving forward in that exact same environment. So here's what I want you to do instead. Focus on the parts of the market you can respond to. Look at what your competitors are selling in the same environment. If someone's succeeding in the same economy, then it's not impossible. Use slow periods to focus on other parts of your business. Optimize systems, refine processes, redo photos, update SKUs so that you're ready when demand swings back. Or try running a sale, even a small one, to awaken the algorithm and build buyer urgency. Even a 5% drop can move stale inventory without impacting margins too much. Keep listing even when sales slow down. It's like investing in the stock market when prices are down. Getting more inventory out there will pay off later. Economic conditions will always shift, but when you decide they're the reason you can't succeed, you hand over the keys to your business and you don't get them back until someone else fixes the world for you. This last one doesn't always sound like complaining. It sounds like being honest.
Life's been crazy. I'll get back into it soon.
I can't seem to stay motivated. Help!
I just haven't had the time lately.
On the surface, it sounds like self-awareness, but mostly it's a soft excuse to do nothing. Most people think they have a motivation problem, but motivation is temporary. It comes and goes. It's a nice bonus when it shows up, but it's not something you can rely on. If your business only moves when you feel like working on it, it's going to stall out a lot. What you actually need is discipline, systems, habits, something to fall back on when motivation disappears, because it will. The sellers who keep showing up aren't more inspired than you. They've just stopped waiting to feel inspired before they take action. And then there's the time excuse, which is one of my pet peeves. I just don't have time. We've all said it, but it's rarely true. What it really means is this isn't a priority right now, and that might be fine. But just say that instead. Don't pretend like your life is uniquely full of obstacles while everyone else has free hours and perfect energy. We all have the same 24 hours that you do. The difference isn't how much time you have, it's how you choose to use it. These kind of complaints about energy or about time, they sound innocent, but they're really dangerous because they let you off the hook. They make you feel momentarily forgiven for doing nothing. And over time, they turn into a story about why you haven't grown. One that feels true because you've told it so many times. And the result is that you just lose progress. You lose weeks, then months, and then one day you wake up and realize your store hasn't grown in a year, but you've told yourself 100 different reasons why it's not your fault. So here's what to do instead. Build discipline into your day and stop waiting for motivation or the right energy to show up. Remind yourself that showing up imperfectly beats waiting for ideal conditions. Then set a listing habit you can actually stick to, even if it's only one item per day. Small wins build momentum, and it makes it easier to tackle bigger challenges later. Then stack your listing habit onto something you already do daily, like right after coffee and while a show plays in the background. Just make it automatic. Schedule your work like it matters, even if it's only 30 minutes a day. And then take time off if you need it. Coming back refreshed may mean that you get more work done than if you would have pushed through a rough patch. The thing is, you don't need more motivation. You need a plan you'll follow through with, even when you're not feeling like it. Now look, the goal here is not to stop complaining entirely, which is basically impossible. We're humans, after all. We're gonna find ourselves complaining from time to time. Instead, the goal is to catch yourself when you complain. Let yourself vent, but then pull it together and transition to action as quickly as possible. I built Flipwise for the same reason I made this video, because I got tired of the same complaints, including from myself.
I feel like I'm running a business, but I don't actually know how it's doing.
Tax time is a nightmare.
Spreadsheets suck.
I know I should be tracking everything, but who has time for that?
These aren't just offhand remarks, they're low-grade complaints that pile up and keep people stuck. Most sellers stop at frustration, but Flipwise is what happens when you decide to fix it. It doesn't solve every problem, but it does help you see what's really going on in your business so that you can spend less time complaining and more time making decisions that move your business forward. If that's the kind of shift you're trying to make, there's a link below with more information. If you enjoyed this video, here are 2 more that you'll probably like too. This first one is the 12 habits of quietly successful eBay sellers, and the second here is about how small eBay sellers will make big money in 2025. Both are going to help you cultivate the right mindset for success in this business. Thanks for watching.